Kevon Looney got hurt, what the hell would this team do?
A lot of JaMychal Green.
Wow. So...
Well, and Kevon only plays, 22 minutes a night anyway?
Right, but it's not a replaceable role. So, to have another person who can get some rebounds.
Oh, God.
And I know he's not a great defender.
He's awful.
Right, but he can knock down threes, and I think it would give them an emotional boost of, hey, it's go time.
Right.
It's the stretch run.
I appreciate your emotional boost end of the argument, but this is not the Kevin Love that we all remember when Kevin Love was still a real good, serviceable player, an all-star. He's a 5-time all-star. He hasn't been an all-star in 5 years. Defensively, right now, you are a terrible defensive team, so you're adding another piece, and you're adding another player to your rotation who is a, wait for it, terrible defender. So the one thing you need to address, in my opinion, in the buyout market is defense. So you're adding a guy who can't play defense. The idea of him being a three-point shooter, 35% from three this year, he's taken 5 threes a game in 20 minutes. So this is a volume shooter who doesn't shoot the ball as well as 5 or 6 other guys you have on the floor. So if he plays with Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole and even Andrew Wiggins, you'd rather have them shoot than Kevin Love. So if you have Kevin Love on the court, the one thing you want him to do is the one thing that he is incapable of doing, which is actually play defense.
Are you overstating? Are you overstating?
I'm
the
dramatically
issues?
Overstating it. No, I'm not overstating their defensive issues.
No, Kevin,
I'm overstating his defensive deficiency.
I know he's not great.
He's a minus defender.
He is. Yes, he is slightly below average.
Right. Yeah. So on a team right now where you have your best defender is Draymond Green. He's one of the best of all time. And from there, your second best defender is Klay Thompson. It's Andrew Wiggins, win motivated.
Yeah, Wiggins.
It's Klay Thompson at times. It's Gary Payton who's injured.
DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo's a good defender.
A bench player. And again, I'm thinking in terms of when we have our finishing five.
GP2 was a bench player. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, but at least if you're into a late game situation in a tight ball game, you could play GP2 and you would feel good about it. DiVincenzo, I guess you could do in the same vein. Kevin Love is, to me, it's empty calories. And, if you look at what all these other teams did at the deadline, they all got a lot better. This doesn't make you any better.
Well, I'm not sure about that. And by the way, in or out on the idea of Kevin Love, and just some backgrounder if you don't know, it's not done yet, but the word came out yesterday that the Cavs and Kevin Love are working on a buyout. And so that is expected here soon. And the only other part of the story that is worth passing along is a team has already come up as the quote-unquote favored landing spot, and that's the Miami Heat, which is also interesting because it's not a team that's at the top of the standings. The Heat are kind of doing similar things in the East that the Warriors are doing in the West. They're sitting around in a play-in tournament.
They're the 7 right now.
They're the 7 seed, right? Yeah. They're what, 4 or 5 games over 500
5
maybe?
above, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's interesting. It's not like he's going to ring chase where he's like, I'm going to Boston or I'm going to Milwaukee. So, okay, maybe there's some openness there. We know that Klay Thompson and Kevin grew up together. They're good friends. I also think that there would be an aspect of this where you're bringing in championship-type experience. I think that has to be part of what the Warriors are going to do here the rest of the way if this is going to work. The one thing that they've got on so many other teams in the West, and this is another under-discussed interesting part about Durant and Kyrie both coming back to the West, but the West was totally devoid of stars who had ever won a ring, other than the Warriors.
LeBron, yeah.
Well, right. LeBron down in the 13 seed, and Kawhi when he plays. And we'll get to the Lakers in a second.
We will. My Lakers.
Dibs is
Step aside, Spadone.
Your Laker point. Anyway.
You give a guy one night to watch the Lakers, and I'm all in. I got a D'Angelo Russell jersey on the way. He's back. D'Lo's back.
Can't stand that dude.
I got a Laker take even Spadone doesn't know about.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for that.
That's coming up on Laker Talk.
But, from a Jokic to a Ja Morant, these are guys who have not done it. And so to bring in another player who's been around that block, I don't think it hurts. I'm not going to go so far as why not? Because it's got to be more important.
It feels like a why not take.
Well, but it is low risk. It is low minutes. What you're going to ask all of these Warrior players to do, clearly, is when we get to April, my guys, you have got, will lessen your minutes if need, in exchange for you have got to go all out.
Hard. You got to go hard.
There's no back-to-backs. We're not waiting. We're not managing loads. We're not doing I knew you wouldn't be able to handle that. Right? We're not doing any of that. You have got to go all in as on both ends of the floor. And so Kevin Love is not a plus defender, but could you sit him down and be like, look, we need 15 to 17 minutes a night, and we need you to go crazy. Like a lot of times,
go crazy, folks.
Players who average 20-some-odd points a game in their career don't do a lot on the defensive end because they're not asked to and because they're playing heavy minutes. But Kevin Love wouldn't be asked to do that here. So it's like, can you give us a little bit of a different pitch? Can you focus more on the rebounding and the defense? They did that with Wiggins last year, and it worked.
Yeah, Wiggins, and that's an unfair comp in terms of Kevin Love because Wiggins is a player who's still at the peak of his NBA career. He's in the prime. Kevin Love is 34. Kevin Love this year, 20 minutes a night for Cleveland, and no starts. He started 3 games, 3 of the 41. So he's only played in about 80% of the games, and when he plays, he doesn't play a lot. He shoots a lot, and he's scoring 8 points a night. 8.5 points, 6.8 rebounds, not playing a lot of defense. To me, if you're bringing in Kevin Love, what you're saying to your entire team is, don't worry about defense anymore. Let's win 135 to 134. Okay. That's what you're telling me.
I mean, it's interesting that you have this thought because I know how against Iguodala you are, for example. Like, there are rosters.
I don't even talk about him anymore.
Well, but I mean, you're going to need more bodies as you go down the stretch. You're going to need contributions from spots on your roster that you're not going to have. If you were to get into a deep playoff run, sure, you shorten the bench. Let's go with our 8 guys. Let's find out who they are. But at a certain point, even if it's just insurance, the worry about Iguodala, I think we all understand what they did.
You can't stop talking about him.
Yeah, right. They wanted him to be a presence in the locker room, and the hope was he would be there down the stretch. But I don't even know if that's the case. So you want to talk about empty calories? If he literally isn't going to suit up and play, then yeah, cut bait and grab somebody who can give you some minutes.
Yeah.
Like the Warriors.
I agree with that
they
notion.
Need more minutes.
I don't think Kevin Love is that guy.
Maybe not.
In terms of what they would need. And I don't know who else will be available in the buyout market. But for me, you need somebody who can come in and get you a stop. Because I look at this team offensively, they're one of the best offensive teams in basketball. And if you add Kevin Love, you're adding another offensive-minded player. And, I mean, you heard Draymond Green. You played the rant from yesterday or the day before in the postgame and how he was going off about their defense. If you add Kevin Love, your defense doesn't get better. It gets worse.
Not necessarily. Because, first of all, there's different parts of defense. Like, Kevin Love has always been a very good rebounder.
Yeah.
But very good rebound. That's part of defense. Plus, you're injecting him into a Warrior system, which in the past has worked. So I don't know how his Warriors defense would look. I'm not going to say he's going to be a great defender. He's never been that. But again, I'm just asking for bursts. I'm asking for bursts in small situations, and I do think that it might be like a good message to the locker room. I do.
I'll buy that in terms of we got rid of a precocious, unproven youngster, and we brought in an OG. So from that standpoint, I think it helps. Klay Thompson and he grew up playing basketball together, if I'm not mistaken, up in the great Northwest. So, and Kevin Love is a good teammate. He's a good guy. And, that two-hand chest pass, that outlet pass that we all dream about. Boy, can he flat out pass the rock. It's great. All those things are true. He's old. He doesn't defend. And he's not going to be able to shoot as much as you would want him to be. I look at him in Miami, for example. Miami's number 4 in the association in team defense. So for me, they're a better fit because you can take on Kevin Love and not have to worry about becoming worse on defense.
I get it.
This Golden State team, you bring in Kevin Love, and already you've got 3 or 4 guys who are minus defenders, and now you add another minus defender?
Well, you're acting like he goes in with all of them. I mean, you structure that. Like, who would Kevin be? Who was he playing next to? I mean, the names you brought up, he's probably not playing next to those guys. I mean, still to this minute, I wonder if people would find this fascinating. That starting five for the Warriors is still by far and away the most productive starting five or just five-man group in the NBA in terms of outscoring opponents.
You're talking about Looney, Green, Wiggins, Draymond, Thompson, Curry.
Yes, and obviously that group is not fully healthy right now, but when it is, that is still, and this is one of the things, if you want to grasp right now and hang on to hope in the playoffs, you're still looking at the group. It is, by data, the best group when they're on the floor. It's just, can they all get on the floor? Can they be healthy?
Can they play 48 minutes? Is really the question.
Not 48. Like, I mean,
how many minutes are they playing a night to where?
Well, the beginning and the end, and spots in the middle.
So maybe like 16 of the 48.
Right. And
that's a third of the game. Yeah. You were the best in the association.
But that's how it's always been.
Right. But
death lineup, all that stuff.
But before, your drop-off was not as dramatic as it is now, to where the drop-off is precipitous.
Right, although not as bad as it was early in the season.
True.
That the bench is better.
The bench is better, and the starters aren't as good. The starters are still the best group in the association, but the drop-off is still the drop-off. And you wouldn't be 29-29 if your starters were so good that you could survive this drop-off. And I know it's been a lot of late game fades, and if they wouldn't have lost all 12 of those close games, if they would have gone 4-8, they'd be the 3 seed.